Well, hello folks, and welcome to something that is not going to be a regular occurrence. I don't really feel like recording any Sims or Final Fantasy IV. Dark Souls 2 is dead forever. Breath of Fire 2 is put on hold until I can go party in Colorado for a while. Rewarding the rewarders, I've got 3 games left on that. And I don't feel like doing any of those right now, so this morning, before I go to bed, I'm going to be doing one of my dailies on Final Fantasy XIV. Every morning at 9 a.m. my time, I can go to the duty finder and go to the duty roulette, which is a low-level, basically roulette system that chooses some of the low-level dungeons that I've unlocked and thrusts me into them. I'm level 50, so I'm not actually doing these dungeons for experience. I can't level up this class anymore. I am a white mage, but I get other things that I can use for fancier gear. I get sills for my grand company, which is like the military party that I've joined that I can use to buy armor and equipment from them, and I get money that is always in much needed supply. You can never have enough money. The thing is, with the duty roulette, you never know what dungeon you're going to get. It could be a real low level one that I've probably ran 2 or 3 or 4 dozen times already. Or it could be one of these higher level ones that I might have only ran once. Darkhold and Aurum Vale here, I've recently unlocked. They're lower than level 50, they're optional ones. I've never done them before, which means they're incredibly terrifying to me, because I have no idea what to expect. I figure every once in a while, over the next several weeks or months, I'm just going to be recording a little bit of Final Fantasy XIV every now and then. As soon as I hit join, more or less, I will be thrown into a party. I'll also join a party in progress. The reason that I'll probably be thrown into a party instantly or within 2 or 3 minutes is because I'm a healer. Here we go. Healers and tanks don't have to wait hardly any time at all to join a party. DPS, on the other hand, of which there will be 2 in your party, they can end up waiting anywhere between 10 minutes on the low end to 40 minutes on the high end. Problem is, because there's so many different DPS classes out there, I think there's only 2 tanks and 2 healers. The rest are all DPS. Healers have, oh good, I actually really like this one. This is Haukke Manor, or something like that. Yeah, at least it wasn't Aurum Vale. So, some people are here for the first time, most likely the person viewing the cutscene. They'll probably be a lower level, never have been through here before, won't really know what to be expecting. Exactly, and I wanted easy this morning. I didn't want to go do something hard. Whenever I'm going for my bonus stuff, you know, I want something that I can do rather easy. Also, you'll probably hear me spam my keyboard a lot, just to make sure that my spells go through. Let's see. Oh shit, she's already poisoned. So, what she's doing, I think that's a she. She's pulling these mobs right here, the Manor maidservants. What they will do is they have that large area of effect spell that will stun anyone caught in the radius. And I kind of have to wake up and pay attention here. Get some heals going on. She's got poison. It'll wear off in 13 seconds. Or I can use Isuna to remove it. As a white mage, my primary role is to obviously heal the party. I've got 2 damage spells, which is Arrow, which is a damage over time, and I've got Stone, that puts a slow effect on the enemies, and does a decent amount of damage provided I switch to Cleric stance. Cleric stance for the White Mage swaps their intelligence and mind. Intelligence determines how much damage you're going to be doing with your attacks. Mind is your healing power. Obviously, you don't want to be healing with all of your in Cleric stance, because you'll be doing a very pitiful amount of healing. Likewise, it doesn't do you a whole lot of good to cast attack spells without being in Cleric stance. Now, I'm being particularly bad right now, primarily because I'm over healing. Probably because I'm trying to talk to you guys right now. I'm not having any lag. Normally, for some reason, this place and the sewer dungeon, I can't remember exactly what it's called, Toto Rack, I lag really bad in those two places. Thankfully, I don't lag in any of the harder dungeons. Now, whenever you see those large area of effect circles on the ground, those can actually, most of them, probably 99% of the ones that we will encounter at the low levels, can be interrupted by a stun. I think that maybe our tank is the only one with a stun attack right now. I'm not sure if monks and archers actually get one. And our tank seems to be holding up better than some of the tanks I've ran across before. Occasionally I get a tank where all I can do is spam heals to keep them alive. And I have two different heals I can use at this level, well, 3 if you count Medica. I have Cure and Cure 2. Cure 2 uses a ton of my MP. I kind of have to ration it out. But say if she falls below 50, I'll go ahead and drop a Cure 2 on her. I don't think at this level I have some of my abilities unlocked. Because I'm going to a lower level dungeon, my level is knocked down to 31, my gear stats are capped, and I lose a bunch of skills as well. Like all these skills I don't have. And traits, I don't get free cure. If I was level 32, I think you get 15% chance whenever you cast Cure 1, to be able to cast Cure 2 for free. Which is actually really nice in some of the harder dungeons, because you can basically sit there and keep people kind of topped off with Cure 1, and then take a small break, and then drop a large Cure 2 on them, and save your mana. Because the spells do increase in MP as you increase in level. They increase in effectiveness as well. Anyways, you can see we have one tiny key here. We have objectives in the dungeon. Our first main objective is to find the green key. And we're pulling these mobs all the way back here, because coming down that hallway is going to be 2 of those witches that will stun you. Obviously, we don't want to have to deal with them unless we absolutely have to. So most tanks who know what they're doing will pull all the way back here. If you've got a really good party that can handle it, yeah, there they are. You might not worry about it. You'll just take everything on at once. And because she's taken so much damage so quick, there's not really any point in me switching over to Cleric stance. These are not the biggest pools that I've ever seen. But that's another kind of downside of being a caster. I started casting my spell when the enemy had 11% hit points, and before I could even get it off, the enemy was dead. I do like 5 to 6% damage, I think, with every stone cast at this level on most of these enemies. This room just has a tiny key. You don't need to collect all the tiny keys in this place. Some of the side rooms simply have treasure chests in them. Yeah, and you see there's 3 of those witches. If you're not careful, you'll get all 3 of them. Holy crap. And yes, if you get caught in that, I think you're stunned for, I don't know, 5 to 10 seconds. Go ahead and cure her. Try to get the cure off before the fight starts, because if I do it right as soon as the fight starts, the enemy will come for me real quick. Most likely won't have enough aggro built up on the tank for me to get the cast off. Anyways, these gates here signify I'm basically a boss. Whenever you start a boss fight, the room seals within 16 seconds and no one can come in. I've got Virus that I just cast. It drops the target's strength and dexterity by 15 points, which is actually pretty useful. You can cast it once every 90 seconds, and for 60 seconds they get an immunity to it. That way multiple people can't continue just to cast strength on it, or Virus on it. Now, this first boss, pretty damn easy. If you have problems with this boss, you're gonna have a bad time in the rest of the dungeon. Pretty much all she does is basic attacks and an occasional AoE that she will launch at somebody she doesn't like, and that, which is another stun. For a second, I thought that I got caught in it. Yep, see, she targeted me. A lot of bosses have attacks like that. They won't just stay primarily focused on the tank. They'll fling off little side attacks to keep everyone on their toes. Which always makes things interesting if people aren't paying attention. Especially as a healer. Other people might not notice instantly who gets caught by a blast, but it's basically my job to watch this. Watch these bars slowly tick down. For those of you that have followed me in my random boring MMO videos, yeah, our tank just got caught in the blast. So she's stunned for 4 more seconds. Terror, frozen in fear. Which is no big deal. Not here. Every boss has a loot chest, ethereal steel knives. I'll greed on it. Nobody else bothered to greed or need, so I win it. I won't be able to use it. I definitely won't be keeping it for any of my other classes that I've got unlocked. But what I can do with these pink items is trade them into the Grand Company, aka the military that I've joined, and basically get a few pieces of currency from them that I can specifically use just with them to buy gear and things like that. It's basically a long-term investment. There's not anything really significant that I need from them. Most of my gear that I get at this point is going to come from raids and the higher level dungeon drops. But I could always buy something from them and use it on my lower level classes, if I didn't have anything better in reserve saved up for them. I suggest if you're going through these dungeons to always at least greed on the items. I see a lot of people pass completely on something if they don't need it. But the thing is, if you ever do want to level up another class at some point, it's to your benefit to have gear waiting. That way whenever they get to the level that they can actually equip it, you're good to go. And you don't have to go spend a bunch of money at the auction board. And again, I'm not really going to switch over into cleric stance here. Between talking and everything, I'll probably become forgetful and end up getting everyone killed. Even though, even though she's not really taking that much damage, as she drops below 50% health. I don't like letting my tanks drop below 75% most of the time. Just because little bouts of lag can and do happen, and occasionally the enemies will get critical hits. Yes, Kane. Oh god, how do you turn off experience in chat log? Click on the gear icon, go to log filters. I don't know exactly where that would be. Might be system messages or something. Maybe it's progression. Good hunting from there, because I don't know which filter option it is. I have absolutely no idea. I would say just turn off all the battle ones if you don't need them. I kind of like having all of the experience and gil options pop up in here. Obviously, I don't need to see how much damage I'm doing and everything like that. To me, that's not important. As long as the enemy is dying and people are healing. That's all I need to know. So I might actually record another dungeon later today of this. One of the ones that are a lot harder, have way more interesting fight mechanics, because this is probably the 4th or 5th dungeon that you get to in the game. And it's not complicated. It's not very difficult at all. At this point, there's a lot of skills that I don't even have unlocked. Like, I don't have regen unlocked. I don't have stone skin unlocked. There's just not a whole lot for me to worry about. Basically just spam 3 or 4 abilities and I'm good to go. The boss fights don't have any hard mechanics. Like, some of the mechanics for the later boss fights are absolutely insane. If you go with a party that doesn't know what's going on, you'll all die multiple times. Which, in my opinion, is half of the fun. I love going with a party that doesn't know what's going on and is willing to actually learn. Ethereal Sphene earrings. I'll greet it. Yeah, make sure to need it. I always hate seeing people get items pop up that they want and then they don't need on it and somebody else gets it. I'm going to greed on everything that drops, unless I've already got it. There are unique items that you can only have one copy of. Ninja DPS is real. I don't have the ninja class unlocked yet, unfortunately. And one of the things I do, you'll notice there you heard that little chime and the little symbol from that monster pop over to me. That shows you who's being attacked, and anytime as the healer I get aggro, I always run as close to the main group of monsters as I can, so that the tank can just drop a flash or whatever other aggro ability they have and get the shit off me without having to run over to me. I try to be a proactive healer at all times. Like that, Very reminiscent of Final Fantasy XII. I think that game was the first one in the series that actually had lines like that, because it was kind of set up like an MMO, and yeah, I just can't keep aggro off of me right now. In the later levels, I get a spell called Shroud of Saints that reduces all enmity, all aggro that I gain by half, and also reduces my mana regeneration, which is incredibly useful because in some of the later fights, mana for me becomes a very serious problem. I loved my drag till I went white mage. I just don't find DPS to be as rewarding as playing a healer. I find playing a healer to be far more stressful, but it's a lot more rewarding. Say the DPS definitely has a job to do. But if they screw up, they die. If your healer screws up, everyone dies. Which again is why it's so stressful. The tank is probably the most important member of the entire party, in my opinion. They have to know the fights, they have to know the paths that you take. They have to know a lot of mechanics. The white mage, the healers, they have to know a lot of mechanics as well. They need to know when the major attacks are coming, when to get certain heals precast. That way they drop as soon as everyone takes damage. There's just a lot you have to keep track of. And yeah, we got the yellow key. Now we need to find the bloody parchment. I'd like to play a tank, and I'm even working on a tank, but there is a lot of responsibility. It's pretty easy to get level 50 in this game. It's not as easy as some MMOs. You do have to kind of work for it, but you could probably get 50 in, I don't know, 3 weeks, 2 weeks. If you played pretty heavily from the very first time you get it, and basically your highest level character will give a 50% bonus experience to any lower level character. So if you've got a level, say, 30 white mage and you want to play a tank, you can level up your tank to the same level as your white mage, and you'll get 50% extra experience the entire way. Now see, this is one where everyone's kind of splitting aggro. The tank's not doing a very good job of keeping it. That's a slow skill that'll seriously slow down someone's casting abilities and main attack abilities. I always try to knock those off as well. Yes, everyone's getting pissed off at me. I'm not too worried about dying. My white mage is not that squishy at this point, for several reasons. One, because I do basically have the best gear that you can get at this level. Even though all of my gear has been toned down stat-wise, it still beats anything someone that's level 31 will regularly have. There have been times where I actually have more hit points than the tank in the party, which is always a scary situation. Now, these bosses were pretty damn easy too. The last boss here is going to make me kind of work for it, so read that. I'm not going to need it. I definitely don't need it. Astro looks fun. Astro is a new class that is being added in the 3.0 patch coming in March. Anyways, after this boss fight, just go ahead and return. You'll return to the starting point, because the last boss is simply right up the stairs from the starting point. Also, one thing I didn't do in this dungeon that I will do in harder dungeons is eat some food. Food gives you additional stats, which is always nice to have. Yeah, isn't there a gun class on the way? So once you get the bloody parchment, you just come tear down a barrier here. If you go down this hallway, it's a bonus room. There's a treasure chest that can drop a nice ring, and I suck. Yeah, there's a gun class called Machinist coming out as well. We're getting Astrologians, Dark Knights, and Machinists. Paige has an affinity for guns, so I can tell you that she's definitely going to try out Machinist and possibly level it up. But I don't know. But I don't know if I really want another DPS class at this point. There'll be a ranged DPS, kind of like the Archer. The problem with the Archer is that they turn into Bards. And Bards, even though they are a DPS class, they're also a utility class. They have a lot of different skills and abilities that will buff other players. I think damage buffing songs, mana regeneration songs. Here. Protect is going to wear out in 6 minutes. I don't think this battle will take 6 minutes, but just in case it does, I'm going to refresh it. I'll take the front left side. Okay. Now we're all choosing a side here because there are candles in each corner of the room. When the candles go off, they will do an area of effect damage spell across the entire room that will quickly wear down people's hit points. I might not actually talk that much throughout this fight once things get serious. But anyways, I'm gonna run over here. Just kind of keep myself nosed in the corner. Because I don't know exactly when they'll be going off. This is our limit break bar, by the way. Generally, the only people who use the limit break are DPS classes. Yeah, the void lamps right here. Everybody needs to go interact with one. So, I think Leon is kind of falling asleep, so I'll get this one. Honestly, as the healer, that's the last thing I want to be doing, is running out of my way to go turn those off. If we had a less competent tank, I wouldn't have done it. Because the tank probably would have died in that short amount of time. And there the lamps go again, son of a bitch. Now, I'm not getting that other one. That's a lady's candle. It's a bomb. I think it will blow up. Okay, good. I was gonna say, I was about ready to use my Fluid Aura ability, like I will on this one. And basically that just pushes it away from me and roots it to the ground. Gets it off my back. Because I don't need it attacking me. And she's already almost dead, but she has one last trick up her sleeve that I think will happen right about now, yes. She summons a bunch of those handmaids, and that Manor servant comes back. Okay, and they start using that fire attack spell that does AoE damage to everyone. I'll try to pop Leon up here. Thankfully I didn't see them use any AoE stun abilities. I'm pretty sure that they can. Which would be very bad indeed to have a bunch of your party stunned right there. See, like if they get caught in that, which Yeah, I cannot Isuna that off. That's stuck there. He has to wait for it to time out, basically. But anyways, that is this dungeon. Not gonna bother showing you guys all of the cutscenes. I've already been through here. There's cutscenes when you enter the dungeon, when you enter the boss fight, and when you leave the dungeon. No problem. Apologizing for getting terror hit. No big deal. I'll go ahead and give Kane a commendation. He's DPS. I don't really always give out commendations to DPS, mostly to the tank if they're really good. You know, it's good to give DPS love every now and then. Anyways, I'm going to go ahead and leave this. We get a commendation. Healers almost always get a commendation. And I will see you guys in the next dungeon. Wherever it is, whatever it is. Could be super easy, could be super hard. I don't know exactly which one we'll be getting.